Hare Krishna devotees, welcome to Shloka a Day. Today's Shloka is Shloka number 3 from chapter 7. Manushyanam sahasreshu kaschid siddhaye yatatam api siddhanam kaschinmam vetti tattvataha. Manushyanam sahasreshu kaschid siddhaye yatatam api siddhana kaschinmam vetti tattvataha. Manushyanam sahasreshu kaschid siddhaye yatatam api siddhana kaschinmam vetti tattvataha. Please recite after me. Manushyanam sahasreshu
Manushyanam sahasreshu
kaschid siddhaye yatatam api siddhanam kaschinmam vetti tattvataha. Manushyanam sahasreshu kaschid siddhaye yatatam api siddhanam kaschinmam vetti tattvataha. Word for word meaning and translation by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. Manushyanam, of men, Sahasreshu, out of many thousands, Kaschit, someone, Yatati, endeavors, Siddhaye, or perfection, Yatatam, of those so endeavoring, Api, indeed, Siddhanam, of those who have achieved perfection, Kaschit, someone, Mam, me, Vetti, does know, Tatvataha, in fact. Translation. Out of many thousands among men, one may endeavor for perfection. And of those who have achieved perfection, hardly one knows me in truth. It's actually a very famous shloka, very well-known shloka also. So in the purport, Srila Prabhupada is writing that the first 6 chapters of the Bhagavad Gita are actually meant for those who are interested in transcendental knowledge, who are interested in understanding self, right? The first 6 chapters are about Jivatma, about you, about the spirit soul. Of course, knowing the super self and the process of realization through Jnana Yoga and Dhyana Yoga, and the discrimination of matter from self is all covered in the first 6 chapters. And Prabhupada writes, but if you really want to know who Krishna is, you can only know him by practicing bhakti, which is Krishna consciousness. All the others, the karma yogis, the jnana yogis, the dhyana yogis, they may realize the Lord, but not in completely, not in perfection. So others may have a limited concept and understanding of God in the form of impersonal Brahman realization. Because that may be easier to realize the impersonal form of the Lord than to really understand who Krishna is. So Krishna is the supreme personality of Godhead. But at the same time, he is actually beyond the knowledge of Brahman and Paramatma, Prabhupada writes in the purport. The word Siddhi actually has many meanings in Sanskrit. For example, Siddhi means attainment of supernatural power. Siddhi means accomplishment. Siddhi means success. Siddhi could also mean a solution to a problem. Siddhi also means completing a task. So in this verse, Lord Krishna has used the word Siddhi to mean perfection in the spiritual path. So the question is, in this particular verse, Krishna is saying that even those who have achieved perfection, hardly one knows me in truth. How is it that you can achieve perfection and not know who the Supreme Lord is? The reason is that without bhakti or loving service and devotion to the Lord, it is not possible to realize who Bhagavan Sri Krishna is. So all the other spiritual aspirants, although they are also spiritualists, they are also transcendentalists, which is the karma yogis, the jnana yogi, hatha yogi, etc. They may achieve perfection in their path, but at the same time, they don't know who the Supreme Lord Krishna is, because without devotion, they will never know. So Krishna mentions this multiple times in the 8th chapter, in the 11th chapter, in the 18th chapter, that unless you know him through bhakti, you will never understand the supreme absolute truth completely. So that means Krishna is trying to tell us that sadhana should include devotion. Sadhana should not just be a theoretical pursuit of self-perfection. So sadhana must include bhakti. Because jnana is just theoretical knowledge, as we discussed. Vijnana is experiential knowledge that you can only get to know the Lord by serving him with love. Otherwise, you don't get to know all the facets of the Supreme Lord. Of course, one will never know all the facets of the Supreme Lord. But the sweetness, as Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur defines jnana and vijnana, jnana as the Aishwarya and vijnana as the Madhurya. So the sweetness of the Lord can only be discovered by his bhaktas. Therefore, Krishna is saying, even though the others who may pursue this transcendental path, they may achieve perfection in their own way. Even after achieving perfection, they don't know who Krishna is. And the reason that they don't know who Krishna is because they have not been practicing bhakti. Therefore, one among millions of human beings know him in truth. Of course, here Sahasreshu is 1,000. So in the next verse, which is from Shloka 4 onwards, the Lord will talk about his material and spiritual dimensions. So here in this verse, the Lord is saying the rarity of those who actually know Krishna completely and fully. It is very rare that this is the domain of the very, very pure devotees. So Prabhupada also writes in the purport. It's an interesting purport you should read. That, the people who follow the other paths, especially the Jnana yogis and the Dhyana yogis, they dismiss bhakti because they think bhakti is so easy. It's actually for people who are sentimental. Oh, Krishna, I love you, all of this. They think these are all for sentimentalists. Prabhupada asks, if it is so easy, how come they don't choose that path? So why do they deliberately choose the more difficult path to achieve the Supreme Lord? And Prabhupada responds to that question. The reason they actually don't choose that path, because although they are claiming that bhakti is easy, but putting bhakti in practice is actually not easy. So performing bhakti as per the scriptures is not easy. It may look like a simple process, but it requires tremendous amount of sadhana to unrestrictedly love and serve Krishna. So it's a very, very important shloka where the Lord is drawing a distinction between the various transcendentalists and who actually gets to know him. It's only the Bhakta who knows the Supreme Lord. Nobody else.